So we all saw the end of Season 3, and hasn't Cecil learned a single lesson? It's ridiculous. First, it was the Invincible Reanimen, now he's keeping Conquest. Now, is this a good decision for the GDA and Cecil? It's shockingly obvious. With the Reanimen, it's really weird because his main real problem with this would be what Mark thinks. Last time he did something like this, it didn't end out well for Cecil and Mark's relationship, with the strongest superhero on Earth almost killing him twice for doing what he did, all in one season. Mark felt so strongly because the GDA were keeping criminals and not giving them any prison time or justice. In fact, they were giving them a great government pension to keep doing the thing that would have put them behind bars in the first place. Invincible didn't like that he was keeping Sinclair and went to Cecil to argue about it, and then shockingly found out that Cecil had put a bomb in his head, because when it was turned on, Mark was very easy to kill, and the animals that were killing the world's strongest hero were Reanimen. Now Cecil's making it from the dead Invincible variants, which he fully controls and can do whatever he wants with. But this is definitely enough to cause Mark a massive problem, easily, even when the high frequency isn't being used. And to say that the high frequency earpiece messed up their relationship is a severe understatement. Mark doesn't really want anything to do with Cecil, and doesn't want him anywhere near his family, or else he will kill him. But the only reason he'll be near Cecil is if he needs medical assistance. But the variant Reanimen are nothing compared to how Mark could feel about Cecil keeping Conquest around. He is dramatically worse. Do you remember what Omni-Man did to that one city? He is way worse than that. To make him more scary than anyone Mark's ever faced, Conquest was beating the life out of Invincible, who by the way has doubled in strength since he last fought his father, and when his weaker self was fighting Omni-Man, he landed in some good hits. So this shows how much stronger Conquest is compared to Omni-Man. Conquest also killed hundreds of thousands just by sending Mark into multiple cities. Conquest was beating Mark so badly he didn't even want Mark to give up just yet, brushing him off like he just fell over, because Invincible wasn't a threat to him. I know we didn't really feel the insane weight of the amount of people he killed, but just look at what happened when he was trying to fight Mark. If he wanted to do something a lot worse than what Omni-Man did to that alien dimension, he easily could. But let me ask you a shockingly simple question. What do you think will happen to Cecil once Mark finds out what he's been doing? At the end of Season 3, Mark said that if anyone threatens his family, they're dead. He's not holding back anymore. The reason for his change was very obvious, because he now understands that if he keeps these people alive, they will just kill more people and soon kill his loved ones. But the crazy thing is, how do you think keeping the warrior alive, who, by the way, ripped through cities, killing thousands and injuring much more, I don't think Mark is going to care if you're doing all of this to get Viltrumite information out of him. Because other than maybe some high frequency and Reanimen, which they didn't use, Mark is the only person who could kill him, and he needed a lot of help and sacrifice for that. It's also ridiculous to believe that Conquest would betray his Viltrumite empire. He's been working with them for over 1,000 years. He's not gonna roll over after a bit of torture. The most he'll do is just trauma dump on them, saying how lonely he is. And then they will just torture him some more. But the worst part about this is, most stuff on Earth doesn't hurt a Viltrumite. And the worst part is, we don't know if he can come back from this. Viltrumites heal insanely quick. Look at the fight in Season 2 where this guy bounced back from this in a matter of minutes just to beat up Omni-Man. And Mark with his leg that completely broke off the bone, and he was back fighting in minutes. Conquest is one of the strongest ones we've ever seen. You seriously think a bit of metal and an explosion is enough to stop one of the most experienced living Viltrumites, who has undoubtedly been through worse than this multiple times? Mark will definitely feel strongly about this, especially because Cecil went behind his back to do this, keeping one of the most powerful creatures alive who almost killed Mark's little brother by trying to rip him in half, punching a hole through his loving girlfriend, and not to mention the thousands of people he killed for fun. But the surprising part is, I honestly don't think Mark is going to care about the variant Reanimen, because Cecil controls them and he isn't really evil. All Mark was mad about in the first place was that Sinclair wasn't in prison and he wasn't given right justice. But Cecil can definitely be mean at times, but his main priority will always be protecting Earth, which they both have in common. And nobody's ever broken out of the mind control of the Reanimen. The variants are also dead, so they can't think for themselves, and even if they could, Invincible doesn't have the strongest thinking brain out there. But there's two questions this entire video has been leading up to, and both answers are dramatically obvious. 1. Is Cecil right for doing this? Not really, because he's betrayed Mark and endangering the planet for information that is not promised. 2. Is this good for Earth? Yes and no. He could probably break out of this.